I'm Mia Thompson, 34 years old, a freelance software developer living in Seattle, where drizzling rain and childhood memories still linger in my mind. My life has been a tapestry of code, late nights at the computer, and dreams my family never acknowledged. But no challenge ever forced me to confront myself quite like my younger brother's engagement dinner, when his fiancée turned to me and whispered, "Wait, you're Mia Thompson? The CEO of Connectphere?" That question silenced the room, and my story, a journey of pain, betrayal, and triumph, began there. If you're still listening, we want to sincerely thank you for spending your time with us. Truly means a lot. We'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments and let's see how far this message has reached. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I highly recommend doing it now so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories. These aren't just ordinary stories, they're filled with meaningful life lessons that can inspire, teach, and stay with you long after the video ends. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing community. Part 1: The Label of Failure. The invitation to the engagement dinner sat on my worn kitchen counter, its luxurious cream paper and embossed lettering starkly out of place in my cramped, cracked apartment. Ethan Thompson and Olivia Bennett request the honor of your presence at their engagement celebration. It felt less like an invitation and more like a summons, a royal decree I couldn't ignore. My younger brother, Ethan, 30 years old, the family's golden child, was getting married. And I, Mia Thompson, the family's designated failure, was expected to show up, play the role of the unremarkable sister, and avoid embarrassing anyone. 10 years ago, I walked away from medical school, where the sharp scent of formaldehyde in the anatomy lab had once symbolized ambition. But it slowly became the smell of suffocation, an invisible cage. I can still recall standing before my father, Richard Thompson, in his walnut-paneled study. "I can't do this anymore," I said, the words bitter ash in my mouth. He didn't erupt as I'd braced for. Instead, he gave me silence, cold, heavy like a granite tombstone. That silence stretched for weeks, broken only by grave pronouncements that I'd thrown away a golden opportunity, that I'd spit on their sacrifices. The smell of old leather-bound books and the faint metallic tang of success in his office felt like a courtroom where I was sentenced to lifelong failure. My mother, Helen Thompson, reacted with theatrical tears. I overheard her on the phone with her sisters, her stage whisper carrying through the thin walls. "Mia's lost. She's just drifting." Her favorite phrase, always paired with a dramatic hand flutter to her chest, was, "Oh, Mia, we just worry so much about your future." But she never asked what I wanted my future to be. She only mourned the one they designed for me, a bleak landscape of her own imagining. While I drifted, Ethan soared. He graduated with a finance degree from a top-tier school, swiftly climbing to a managerial role at an investment firm in downtown Seattle, owning a sleek condo with views of Puget Sound. Family dinners, when I could stomach them, became showcases for Ethan's triumphs. I remember one Christmas, the scent of pine and roasted turkey filling the air. Ethan unwrapped an exorbitantly priced watch from Dad, who clapped him on the back, his voice booming. "That's my boy making his mark, setting the world on fire." I tried to share my startup idea, a tech platform to help people with disabilities access services, but got a polite nod from Dad. "Good to keep yourself busy, Mia." The implication hung heavy, busy with hobbies, not a real career. Part 2: The Birth of Connectphere. The years after leaving medical school were a blur of cheap apartments reeking of instant noodles and stale loneliness. The question, are they right? Am I a failure? Gnawed at me through sleepless nights. The idea for Connectphere didn't come in a divine flash. It was a slow burn, sparked during my time volunteering at a disability support center in Seattle. I saw people wrestling with bureaucratic red tape, fighting for basic healthcare information for specialists for a shred of dignity. I started small, a side project fueled by black coffee and a stubborn belief that things could be better. Taught myself to code, building a simple database of accessible healthcare providers. The work consumed me, done in the solitude of my tiny apartment, the glow of my monitor my only companion through countless nights. Then came the first email. "Your little program helped me find a doctor who understands my condition. Thank you." A spark ignited in my chest, a sense of purpose so potent it momentarily eclipsed years of familial disapproval. At a local tech meetup, amid the drone of a presenter and the smell of lukewarm pizza, I met Lucas Chen, 36, a brilliant software engineer. Lucas wasn't just leagues ahead of me in coding. He saw Connectphere's potential when my own family couldn't or wouldn't. We became co-founders. Our first office was a cramped room above a noisy print shop, filled with the scent of industrial ink and Lucas's overly strong coffee. But it buzzed with creative energy, a sanctuary for our dreams. Connectphere grew quietly, steadily. 10,000 users, then 50,000. We secured our first small grant, partnered with nonprofits, and expanded state by state. Each milestone was a private victory, a silent rebuttal to the failure narrative my family had crafted. I tried sharing these successes a few times. I recall excitedly telling Mom about a successful pilot in Oregon, projected to help thousands. She listened with her usual distracted air, eyes glazing over. "That's nice, dear," she said, then shifted focus. "Did you hear? Ethan got a huge promotion. He's buying a yacht." Part 3: The Fateful Invitation. The invitation to Ethan's engagement dinner stirred a palpable dread, a knot tightening in my stomach for weeks. I knew the script: Dad's subtle jabs, Mom's anxious glances, Ethan's patronizing pity. But that evening, standing before my closet, a rebellious spark ignited. I was tired of their story about me. I glanced at Connectphere's stats on my phone: 100,000 active users, real people whose lives were easier because of what I'd built. A small smile touched my lips, a rare flicker of pride. Instead of the drab dress Mom always pressured me to wear, I chose a deep teal gown, bought with a bonus from a major contract. It made me feel powerful, capable. Aurora, the restaurant hosting the dinner, was the epitome of the opulence my parents adored. As I handed my keys to the valet, the scent of expensive perfume and gourmet food wafted from the ornate entrance. Inside, the clink of crystal, murmured conversations, and the scrape of silver on porcelain formed a hushed symphony. My throat tightened, as if my dress was suddenly constricting. I spotted my family immediately, seated at a prime circular table, a staged tableau of bliss. My father, Richard, a 62-year-old financial consultant, held court, regaling Olivia's parents with an anecdote showcasing his business acumen. My mother, Helen, 60, a retired event planner, fluttered around Olivia like a nervous hummingbird, adjusting an imaginary stray hair. Ethan, my little brother, looked every inch the young tycoon in an exorbitant suit, his signature smug smirk on display. "Mia, glad you made it," Dad said, his handshake perfunctory, eyes scanning for someone more important. Mom's quick hug carried the scent of her lily-of-the-valley perfume, tied to memories of anxious family gatherings. "Mia, you look neat," she chirped, her eyes flicking over my dress with an unreadable expression, surprise or relief. Olivia Bennett, Ethan's fiancée, extended a hand, her smile genuine, her brown eyes warm. "So nice to meet you, Mia," she said, and for a fleeting moment I felt a glimmer of hope. She seemed grounded, a stark contrast to the strained formality of Thompson family gatherings. Part 4: The Dinner of Comparisons. The dinner quickly became Ethan's stage. My parents gushed over his latest triumphs: a deal managing a multi-million-dollar portfolio, a vice president role at 30, and Olivia's prestigious family. Each statement built a wall between me and their glittering world. When Olivia's father, Arthur, politely asked what I did, Dad cut in before I could answer. "Mia's our free spirit," he boomed, his laugh not reaching his eyes. "Still chasing butterflies, eh, Mia?" "I run a tech company," I murmured, the words feeling flimsy against their grand pronouncements. The Mom, ever adept at steering conversation away from me, chimed in. "But Ethan's new role, Arthur, it's so complex and important, isn't it, dear?" Finn glanced my way, his eyes flickering with familiar condescension. Not everyone's cut out for that kind of pressure, huh, sis? As if I hadn't endured sleepless nights fixing system crashes or fretting over payroll for my small team. I stayed silent, focusing on the bread plate's intricate pattern, the expensive food turning to ash in my mouth. But Olivia unexpectedly showed curiosity. During a lull, she asked, "Your tech company, Mia, what's it about?" I explained briefly about Connectphere, a platform helping people with disabilities access healthcare. Before she could respond, Dad waved dismissively. "Very niche, a passion project for Mia. Keeps her occupied. We're hoping she'll find something more substantial." Olivia frowned, but Mom launched into a loud anecdote about Ethan's childhood, derailing further inquiry. A painful memory surfaced. Months ago, I overheard Dad on the phone with his golf buddy, Grayson. "Mia's still tinkering with that little website," he'd said, his tone patronizing. "A lovely idea, but not like Ethan. He's going places." Those words stung, not just dismissing me to my face, but broadcasting my failure to others. Part 5, The Turning Point. As toasts began, Dad stood, glass raised, his voice resonating with paternal pride for Ethan, a son who's never given us a moment's worry, exceeding every expectation. Then he looked at me, his tone shifting to performative pity. "Of course, life's not a straight path for everyone. Some take detours, march to a faint drumbeat. We support Mia in finding her way." The words branded me again. Mia, the detour, the faint drumbeat, the lost one. Mom sniffled, playing the worried mother perfectly. I stared at the tablecloth, feeling submerged. Then Olivia turned to me, her voice cutting through the noise. "Connectphere? You said it helps people with disabilities access healthcare?" I nodded, surprised she remembered. "And your name's Mia Thompson?" she pressed, her voice a conspiratorial whisper. "Wait, you're Mia Thompson? The CEO of Connectphere?" A fork clattered somewhere. Dad, mid-sip of wine, froze, eyes wide. Mom's perfect smile vanished, her hand clutching her pearls. Then, smug moments ago, stared in stunned silence. Table fell into a profound hush. Oblivious to the emotional bomb she detonated, Olivia continued, her voice vibrant. "Connectphere is incredible. My brother Ryan was paralyzed in a car accident. Your platform helped him find specialists, connect to an adaptive sports program. Changed his life." She raved about features, doctor databases, support forums, telehealth options that Dad had called niche. She mentioned reading about Connectphere's low-profile CEO, never imagining it was her future sister-in-law. Dad's usually ruddy face drained to a mottled gray. Mom whispered, eyes teary. "We didn't know it was that big, Mia." Finn's smugness was gone, replaced by resentful disbelief. Olivia, sensing the shift, hesitated. "Ryan overheard someone, a Mr. Grayson, talking about Connectphere at a charity gala. They praised their son, a finance whiz, but said their other child was working on a little website." "Oh, that was your family?" Grayson's name hit like a punch. I recalled Dad's call with Grayson, dismissing my little website. It wasn't just ignorance, it was deliberate diminishment to protect their perfect family image. Part 6, Facing the Truth. I looked at Dad, Mom, then Ethan, my voice calm but firm. Connectphere has over 100,000 users across 20 states. We partner with 5 state healthcare agencies and have a backlog of nonprofits wanting our services. Last quarter, we closed a funding round with a leading healthcare venture capital firm. I didn't raise my voice. Truth was potent enough. The dinner became an emotional wreckage. Olivia's parents tried to salvage it with polite questions about Connectphere, now regarding me with newfound respect. Dad stayed uncharacteristically silent, his face a landscape of shock and shame. Mom tried to explain. "We just wanted the best for you, Mia." "We didn't realize," Ethan, sullen, picked at his expensive meal, no longer the golden boy. I left early, the air too stifling. Stepping out of Aurora into the cool night felt like surfacing after being held underwater. In the days that followed, my phone buzzed incessantly. Mom called, voice thick with tears. "Mia, we need to talk. We're so proud of you." Dad left a voicemail, his tone hesitant. "Mia, I'd like to understand more about Connectphere. Call me." I let the messages pile up, unanswered. The validation I'd once craved felt hollow now. Part 7, Ethan's Secret. I met Olivia days later. She apologized for stirring family tension. "You didn't do anything wrong," I said. "You just told the truth." She mentioned Ethan had been defensive, snapping over trivial things since the dinner. That comment lingered, pushing me to confront Ethan, not for an apology, but for clarity. We met at a neutral downtown Seattle cafe. Ethan was immediately defensive, his old smugness attempting a weak comeback. "So you're the tech hero now?" No need to rub it in. I kept my voice even. "This isn't about gloating, Ethan. Did you know about Connectphere? The scale?" He scoffed, stirring his latte vigorously. "You were always secretive about your little projects." "I wasn't secretive," I said, patience thinning. "I tried telling you, all of you, multiple times. You didn't listen." I reminded him of the TechCrunch article I'd sent last year about our funding round. His flippant reply had stung. "Sis, stick to nerd stuff. Let me handle the real money." Finally, he confessed. "Fine, I saw the article. I knew Connectphere was big. But I didn't tell Mom and Dad. If you were suddenly this tech star, where would that leave me? I'm the smart one, the successful one. It was easier to let them think you were struggling." His words were a knife. My brother, whom I'd once protected, had deliberately hidden my success to preserve his golden boy status. It was the most painful revelation, exposing the conditional nature of my family's love. Part 8, Redefining Family. I had one final conversation with my parents. I didn't shout or accuse, just calmly laid out how their comparisons and dismissals had made me feel for a decade. "Your definition of success was so narrow," I said. "Because I didn't fit it, I was made to feel inadequate. I don't need you to understand Connectphere's balance sheet now. I needed you to see me then, to value my efforts regardless of the outcome." Mom cried, Dad sat in stunned silence. As I walked away, I felt a profound release, as if shedding an invisible weight. I no longer needed their approval to feel worthy. Connectphere thrived. My bond with Lucas and our team, my chosen family, deepened. Interactions with my parents became infrequent, polite, and on my terms. I attended Ethan and Olivia's wedding, civil but distant with my family, yet shared a warm conversation with Olivia, now an unexpected ally. Part 9, Defining Success. The final scene of this chapter in my life doesn't unfold in the suffocating elegance of Aurora's dining room, nor in the cold, sterile confines of a corporate meeting space. It's me, Mia Thompson, standing on a stage at the Pacific Northwest Healthcare Technology Summit, the warm glow of the spotlight bathing my face. The auditorium is filled with a sea of faces, doctors in crisp blazers, patients with hopeful eyes, innovators scribbling notes, and advocates nodding in quiet agreement. As I speak about Connectphere's mission, about the power of technology to bridge gaps and empower lives, a deep, resonant joy pulses through me, settling into my bones like a long-lost homecoming. I tell the audience about the platform's journey, from a fledgling idea born in the dim light of my tiny apartment to a network now serving over 100,000 users across 20 states. I share stories of people like Ryan, Olivia's brother, who found not just medical care but a renewed sense of community through our adaptive sports program links. I talk about the late nights, the server crashes, the moments of doubt when I wondered if I could carry this dream forward. But most of all, I talk about purpose, about building something that matters, something that touches lives in ways I never imagined possible. As I look out at the crowd, I see more than an audience. I see a reflection of the resilience I've fought so hard to claim. For years, I let my family write my story. casting me as the failure, the free spirit who couldn't measure up to their gilded expectations. My father's dismissive words, my mother's theatrical sighs, my brother Ethan's smug condescension, they wove a narrative that weighed on me like a shroud. I carried their judgment, internalized it, let it shape how I saw myself. But that night at Aurora, when Olivia's voice cut through the haze, declaring, "You're Mia Thompson, the CEO of Connectphere?" something shifted. Her recognition, an outsider's unfiltered truth, cracked the foundation of their story. It was the spark that helped me begin to reclaim my own. Yet the real journey wasn't about forcing my family to see me. It wasn't about proving them wrong or outshining Ethan's polished achievements. It was about seeing myself, truly seeing my own worth, independent of their praise or their criticism. Standing on that stage, I realized success isn't about fitting into their mold or anyone's mold. It's about building something meaningful, something that ripples outward, touching lives and igniting hope. It's about pursuing a purpose that sets your soul ablaze, even when the world tells you to dim your light. The applause washes over me as I step off the stage, but it's not the sound that fills me. It's the quiet certainty within, the knowledge that I've carved my own path, not to spite my family but to honor myself. Backstage, Lucas Chen, my co-founder and chosen brother, greets me with a grin. "You killed it, Mia," he says, handing me a bottle of water. I laugh, the tension of the moment dissolving. Lucas was there through it all, the code that wouldn't compile, the funding pitches that fell flat, the nights we doubted ourselves but kept going. He saw me when my family didn't, and in his partnership I found a kind of family that doesn't demand conformity but celebrates authenticity. Later, as I sit in the conference's networking lounge, sipping coffee and watching the buzz of connections being made, I reflect on how far I've come. The Mia who sat silently at that engagement dinner, swallowing her family's barbs, feels like a distant memory. She's still part of me, but she's no longer the whole story. I think of Ethan and Olivia's wedding, where I stood on the sidelines, polite but distant, no longer seeking my parents' approval. I think of the conversations with my parents that followed, the ones where I laid bare the pain of their dismissals, not to wound them but to free myself. Their tears, their halting apologies, their newfound attempts to understand Connectphere, they came too late to heal the old wounds, but they marked a shift. I set boundaries, redefined our relationship on my terms, and in doing so, found peace. I think, too, of Ethan's confession in that Seattle cafe, his raw admission that he hid my success to protect his own fragile ego. That moment was a wound, yes, but also a revelation. It showed me the limits of the family I was born into, and the boundless potential of the family I've chosen. Lucas, my team at Connectphere, even Olivia, who became an unexpected ally, they are my anchors now, my mirrors reflecting not failure but strength. As I leave the conference, the Seattle rain mists my face, a gentle reminder of the city that's held my dreams and my struggles. I walk past a mural in Pioneer Square, its vibrant colors proclaiming, "Create your own path." I smile because that's exactly what I've done. Connectphere isn't just a platform, it's a testament to what happens when you refuse to let others define you. And this chapter of my life, the one that began with a whispered question at a dinner table, ends not with triumph over my family, but with triumph over the version of myself that once believed their story. Part 10, Lessons from the Journey. As I reflect on this journey, I've distilled 5 lessons that have reshaped how I understand strength, purpose, and self-worth. These truths, forged in the crucible of pain and perseverance, are for anyone who's ever felt unseen, undervalued, or trapped by someone else's narrative. They're for you wherever you are in your own story, and I hope they light a spark to guide you forward. When courage comes from living authentically. For years, I dimmed my light to fit my family's expectations, believing that courage meant enduring their judgment in silence. But standing up for Connectphere, pouring my heart into a mission I believed in even when they called it niche, taught me otherwise. Courage isn't about proving others wrong, it's about living true to yourself no matter who's watching. It's the quiet resolve to keep coding through sleepless nights, to pitch your idea when investors scoff, to stand tall when your own family dismisses you. Authenticity is the root of bravery, and when you embrace it, you find a strength that no criticism can shake. So ask yourself, what truth are you hiding to keep the peace? What dream are you shelving to avoid judgment? Courage begins the moment you choose to live as you are, not as others expect. Truth has its own power. When Olivia recognized Connectphere at that dinner, her words shattered the failure narrative my family had built around me. She didn't intend to upend their story, she simply spoke the truth she knew. That moment taught me that truth, when acknowledged, carries a force that can rewrite realities. It doesn't need embellishment or aggression, it just needs to be spoken. For years, I tried to tell my family about Connectphere, only to be met with glazed eyes or dismissive nods. But the truth of my work, its impact on lives like Ryan's, found its way to light through an unexpected voice. This lesson is a reminder: don't underestimate the power of your truth, even when it feels unheard. Keep sharing it, keep living it, and trust that it will find its audience, its moment, its impact. What truth are you holding back, waiting for permission to share? Speak it and let it do its work. 3 unexpected allies are key. Olivia was the last person I expected to change my life. She was an outsider, my brother's fiancée, someone I assumed would blend into the family's polished facade. Yet her curiosity, her genuine recognition of Connectphere, became the catalyst for my liberation. She saw my worth when my family couldn't, and her voice gave me the strength to reclaim my story. This taught me to stay open to allies who appear in unlikely places. They might be a colleague who believes in your vision, a stranger who shares your passion, or even someone from the periphery of your life who sees you clearly. These allies remind you of your value when you've forgotten it yourself. So look around: who's quietly cheering you on? Who sees the light in you that others overlook? Embrace them, because they're often the ones who help you soar. Define your own value. I spent years craving my family's approval, believing their validation was the key to my self-worth. Every dismissive comment, every comparison to Ethan, chipped away at me until I doubted my own achievements. But building Connectphere, seeing its impact on thousands of lives, showed me that my value doesn't come from their praise, it comes from the difference I make, the purpose I pursue. Learning to define my worth independent of their narrative was the hardest but most liberating lesson. It meant celebrating milestones they ignored, finding joy in user emails they'd never read, and standing proud on that conference stage whether they were in the audience or not. You too have a worth that no one else can dictate. Stop waiting for others to affirm it. What impact are you creating? What purpose drives you? That's where your value lies, and no one can take it away. 5. Success is your own journey. My family measured success by Ethan's metrics: wealth, titles, a glittering condo with a view. Because I didn't fit that mold, I was deemed a failure. But building Connectphere, helping thousands, and finding joy in my work showed me that success isn't a universal checklist, it's a deeply personal path. My triumph wasn't outshining Ethan or earning my parents' applause. It was creating a platform that empowers, forging a chosen family with Lucas and my team, and waking up each day excited to chase my purpose. This lesson is for anyone who's ever felt they're falling short. Your success isn't defined by someone else's ruler. It's in the moments that make your heart sing, the lives you touch, the legacy you build. What does success look like for you? Stop comparing and start walking your own road. These lessons aren't just mine, they're universal truths for anyone navigating a world that tries to box them in. Whether you're fighting familial expectations, societal pressures, or your own doubts, these principles can guide you. Courage, truth, allies, self-worth, and a personal definition of success, they're the tools to rewrite your story, to step into the light of who you're meant to be. If this story touched you, let's keep the conversation alive. Hit like to show support, share it with someone rewriting their own story, and subscribe with notifications on for more tales of resilience. Your struggles and triumphs aren't alone. Comment below: what chapter are you rewriting? Which lesson resonates most? Share your city, country, or time zone. Let's see how far this message travels. Thank you for joining me. Together, we can inspire authentic living and empower each other to rise. Keep rewriting your story, and I'll see you in the next one.